cup of coffee, then I'll go. Thought that I'd just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome to the channel Grand Colombia, and if you notice, I'm about a minute early because after last week's fiasco with YouTube, and if you notice, throwing out all my connections, I figured I better not take that chance to the fiasco with YouTube. It's like we're working here, throwing out all my connections. I figured I better not take that chance to the -30 from Ontario. It's like we're working here, throwing out all my connections. It was a little warm yesterday. Got up to almost 80 from Ontario. It's like we're working today right now. We're in over 70. It's overcast. Almost 80. It's just your typical day. Right now, come out short of 70 and skies are mostly gorgeous day right now. Okay, so I sent a message here. I posted it here. It says Rob is in Hawaii today, so he decides to send a message here. I copied that here. And then guess who sent a message this morning? Hawaii. Good morning, Rob. What a trooper. And as it's been for the last month or so, you have sent a contribution before we even began. For the last month or so, you have sent a made it easy on you last night. Yep, they sure did. And what else? Good greetings from Helsinki. Made it easy on you last night. Bill sure did. What else? Good greetings from Helsinki. Yeah, that was true. It was quite a game. It was fun to watch. Yeah, that was true. It was for a change. It was quite a game. It was fun to watch. Good morning from LA. It was for a change. It was quite a game. Lots of reverb. Good morning from LA. Really for a change. All right, let me take a look. Lots of reverb. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. For a change. All right, let me take a look. Lots of reverb. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. For a change. All right, let me take a look. Hold on. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. For a change. All right, let me take a look. Hold on. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. For a change. All right, let me take a look. Hold on. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. All right, one time I say hold on. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. I still have a problem. All right, one time I say hold on. Give me a moment. I appreciate that. I'm waiting on you. It's still going. All right. Well, that sucks. Audio. Seems solved now. Well, is it solved or is it still going? Okay, fixed now. Good audio. That's better. Good morning. Okay. That was weird. I had the volume completely down on the second microphone, but somehow it was picking it up anyway. So I just turned it off. Okay. Where we're another worldly experience. Well, that, that could be good. Acid trip is over. Really? That'll be interesting when I play this back to to hear what you hear. Okay. Back in Paradise, audio is good. Okay. So I only have one topic today, and it's not going to be very exciting, but after I did the danger in Colombia to talk about that bombing in Cali, I thought I should address a number of all the same question. What is liberation theology when I was talking about ELN? And so I'm going to try to explain it quickly. I've known about it since I was in Colombia 20 years ago, is when I first heard about it in a conversation I was having with someone. And, excuse me. And I did some digging, but recently, I went back and I kind of reviewed it all because I didn't remember much about it. Now, understand there's two basic, reasonably large, numbering 1,000 or more groups in Colombia. You got the FARC, who are primarily in places that people don't live, border of Ecuador and Amazon region, some other places. And then you've got the ELN, who are pretty entrenched in two departments right on the border of Venezuela. And as a matter of fact, if you know where Cucuta is, because that makes all the news, it's a major border crossing, that's at the southern end of the area that they occupy. And every once in a while, they stick up their head and make the news. Like, for example, the president had flown into that area in a helicopter, and his helicopter got shot at a bunch of times. So they're definitely a problem. But there's some differences. Now, ELN and the FARC have been somewhat, I would say they work together to a certain extent over the years. But they're also enemies. Well, the FARC is basically just a socialist group in the mold of Che Guevara or Castro, and they're primarily just criminals. And the socialism is simply a ruse. There may be some true believers in there, but it's primarily just criminals. Now, the ELN, on the other hand, they're socialists, but they're socialists through the liberation theology. And basically, I gotta look at my notes here. It's the way they've achieved social power, and they've got some pretty messed up beliefs, actually. It's out of the church in Latin America. There was a bishops' convention in 1968 in Medellin, but it was from people from Peru and just all around Latin America. And they established and wrote a letter coming out of that, and that's really the birth of the liberation theology. And it's this idea that the poor are the people that are going to go to heaven. They're the saintly people. They need to be protected and helped. And the rich are evil. They're not going to go to heaven. And the middle class are really the means of taking care of the poor. And that's why you see them taxing businesses today. Some people call it extortion, but they put business taxes on all of these little tiendas and shops and things like that in the areas that they operate, and they take that money and they fill their coffers, but they also have programs for the poor. And most of the leaders of the ELN have actually been priests and bishops of the Catholic Church. Now, somewhat recently, the Catholic Church has condemned this ideology, but it's taken hold in Latin America. And you can, if you think back over the years where you have Catholic priests involved in various subversive groups, and always socialist groups, be it Nicaragua or you name it, throughout Latin America, the priests will be involved, and they're always on that side of the coin. And that's as a result, because the idea is that the church should be directly involved in the politics. Like I said, I mean, it's easy to punch a whole bunch of holes through it if you've ever actually read or understood the Bible, but that's neither here nor there. That's what they hinge it on. And with these ideals, it sounds, like all socialism ideals, it sounds good. It's for the people. It's for the children. And I mean, you can't argue with that. And who doesn't want to take care of the poor and all of that? But they use it to establish political power. Another characteristic is sin in the traditional sense of the Ten Commandments and things like that. That doesn't really hold status in this situation. Real sin is ethical behavior towards the poor. And because poor exist, and there's governments, and the government lets the poor be poor, therefore they consider it unethical behavior, therefore they consider government evil. Doesn't matter if the government's policies have risen the poor up out of poverty and improve year after year. None of that matters, because it's a path to power, but it's a real abortionized version of Christianity or Catholicism in particular. And they use it to justify crimes like the extortion that takes place. Many of the members are true believers, and they think they're just doing the right thing, and that everything that works towards those end goals is fair game. And it's a very similar organization as BLM, as a matter of fact, which is a Marxist organization. No, I'm not calling names. They've come right out and said that they're a Marxist organization. The founders are self-avowed Marxist. So it's not name calling, it's just fact calling. And there's a lot of similarities. You have, this is the liberation theology, the most popular logo. Doesn't always say Jesus was a socialist, but that's part of the preaching. But you see the fist with the cross in hand, and you'll see that virtually the same thing without the cross with BLM. Now, I'm not conjuring this up. There's actually a black liberation theology movement that does exist. And there's other groups that have adopted this because it's relatively effective, because you can get groups of people on your side thinking that it's justified, when in reality it actually isn't. But, if you don't actually read the Bible and just take their word for it, then you think, it's what Jesus wanted. So, I want to get preachy on this, but essentially it's an anti-government movement, and they use the poor. Now, it's funny because, it's not funny, but in the areas where ELN has existed for 20-some years, existed in the sense that they hold sway over the local power, there's a greater percentage of poor in those areas than in the rest of Colombia. But, we have to ignore that. So you can go and dig up. It's actually kind of interesting, but it's a dry topic, and I've probably got people tuning out on this. But I had enough people ask. I felt I should address it. I thought about doing a part 2 of that video, but I figured let's just take a few minutes and just address it right here. And it's only been 5, 6, 7 minutes. So there you go. Hopefully I've answered the questions. If you have any more questions about it, look it up. It's not hard to find. Reese. Clergy have always wielded political power since at least the time of the pyramids. You're exactly right. There's no argument about that. With most religions, it's exactly right. So that's what we contend with here in Colombia. But the thing is, we're not really contending with it because these are really isolated areas. But the danger is, as I mentioned in that video, when you have an election year, and we've got a presidential election coming up, this is a prime time for them to act up. The protests last year was infiltrated by these various groups, and that's where the violence came from, because you don't typically see violence in and of itself in these protests. But if somebody goes in and with a group of 10 or 15 and they start throwing rocks and the police respond, and other people, either they run away to get away from it or they join in. And that's kind of the point. So in every religion of the planet, I was sitting here and in my mind as I'm talking, I'm thinking, so what religion hasn't? Is there any? And the only thing that came up to in my mind were basically the monks in Tibet that kind of just keep to themselves and they live a separate life. And when the Chinese invaded around World War II, they just tried to completely stay out of it. Now, ultimately, they tried to fight the invasion, but they tried to stay out of it. But that wasn't over religion; that was over self-preservation. Victor, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, if you hear noise in the background, it's because I have guests here this weekend. A friend from Cuenca years ago and her two daughters, and they eventually moved back to Colombia and Cali, and every year or so they'll come and visit for a couple days. And they all had COVID recently and feel better, but kind of tired, and they don't have it anymore. And there's a break in school that sometime, I think Thursday or Friday, they go back to school, or maybe the following Monday. Soon they go back to school, so they decided to just, come here. So I asked them to, please keep it toned down, but they're watching a movie apparently, and I think it's that Disney movie Encanto about Colombia. And for me, it's pretty loud, but I have this microphone set up so that if it's not my voice, it probably cuts it out. So my guess is you're probably not hearing it. But for me, it's like right in my ear to the point where I almost want to get up and yell. But I don't want to do that. So my phone's been blowing up. Nothing important. Sorry about that. No background noise. Good. That means I got my settings right. Because if I don't know how to demonstrate it, but it's distracting. So you are lucky. Wait a minute. I'm gonna where did I put it? I have a mute button. Crap. I don't know what I did with it. I want to yell down. We all love Disney. That was a good movie. I've actually watched it twice. It's the story was actually about here in Quindío. You'll see all the tall palm trees. So there's a lot of pride in that movie around here. So did you hear me hollering? Okay. So what do we have here? Oh, I want to mention the apartment. A lot of people have booked the apartment. It is currently booked from January 21st to February 14th, March 26th and 27th, and then again March 28th to April 7th. So if you're interested, you probably want to do something right away. And just as a reminder, it looked kind of herky-jerky there to me. I don't know how it came across to you. But if you're interested, go ahead and send me an email. I got it up on the screen, and I'll hook you up with him. That gave me a chance to run down and say, turn it down, because it's really difficult to pay attention to everything that's going on here. And there's a lot, actually, and have this in your ear. I can't juggle the balls like I used to. Okay, and let's see what else we got. Again, I'm asked all the time about where can I do this, that, the other thing, and I've got it up on the screen. It's on the scroll. Find everything at grandcolumbia.live. I've had a few people ask, where can I contribute, you know, when I'm offline? And everything's there, everything you want. It's connections to podcasts and how to communicate with me and all kinds of stuff. Okay, so there's that. And now it's Q&A time. It's time to start asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. Okay, I got to get a haircut. You know, everybody is saying, no, keep growing it. It's driving me crazy. And I think you saw in that last video, I had it. It's just driving me crazy. Not liking it at all. Great content on your last video. Thank you. I appreciate it. I got an awful lot of comments on it. Positive comments. It was short and sweet, but I know some people kind of freak out over they hear anything, and I think it's always good to put some perspective on it. You look good with long hair, more younger. Well, I am younger. I don't know. I don't care about, honestly, I have very little thought as to how I look, and it's more about, it just drives me crazy. I don't like how it feels. Will you be revisiting Manizales anytime this year? Yes, but I have no idea when. Probably in March. But to go just for the sake of it, I have no plans for. But there may be some things I'll be doing in March that involve going to Manizales, in which case, then yes, I'll go. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Manizales. It's just that there's a lot of other things. I mean, I lived there for a while, so I'm very familiar with it. And there's just a lot of other things that I really need to get to one of these days. Do you think Colombia will kind of get like Spain, learn to live with Corona? Well, it kind of already is. I mean, they've come right out and said they'll never shut down the economy again. It was a mistake. They're doing this to enter vaccine, but that doesn't really affect people internally. And while they sort of have a vaccine passport, sort of, it's really just for big sporting events and concerts. I mean, you can go to a restaurant or into a store in the mall and it's not an issue. So it's really not affecting people. I just don't understand the mask thing. I mean, everybody's wearing them down under their chin. But if you don't have it, you can wear it down under your chin going in the mall, and that's fine. But if you don't have it, you got to go buy one. It's just crazy. There's a YouTuber who opened a Chinese restaurant there in Manizales, I take it. Interesting. Well, Victor lives in oops. Yeah, that one. Victor lives in Manizales, so maybe he knows about it. Victor, if you know anything about it, maybe you can send me the address. Be interested in actually having what I would consider a good Chinese restaurant. Morsels and rental went up this year. Yeah, there's some prices that are going up. And as I mentioned last week, it's difficult for me to know how much of it is the normal after New Year's prices go up. Every year it's like that. And how much is affected by what everybody else in the world is experiencing. There definitely are some things that have gone up at a greater rate that I've seen in the past, but most everything is still pretty much reasonable. Called ni hao. That's just what? That's hello, isn't it? Blackberry juice. I already had my coffee. All right, we got any other questions? You can't end it today and go watch a Bills game. We did that. Did that yesterday. I'm very happy about it. Is it better to buy electronics here in the U.S., cell phones, laptops, and bring them, or buy there? Well, that's one of the things I've seen that have gone up is cell phones. There was a cell phone that I got a used S9 Plus for like $120 through Mercado Libre. And it's right there. And it's got a little glitch to it, but it's fine. But I needed something else. So I get this phone. It's an M12. You probably don't even have them in the USA. It's a cheap low-end phone that has most of the features that the S phones have. The only thing it doesn't have really is stabilization. But it's pretty amazing phone. And it was 614,000 pesos. So $160, brand new, delivered to my door. So now if my phone dies, I've got the S9 as a backup, and I keep them, the information there. Because it was a disaster. Twice now I've had phone issues, and twice there were 5 or 6 days by the time I got it taken care of, and it cost me a lot of money and a lot of confusion. So my point is that same phone after New Year's is now, that was 614,000, it's now 1,099,000. 1099. That's a substantial increase. on that phone. I'm looking at some other phones and it's not like that, but this phone in particular has gone up. Now I don't know if it's because it came out and it's a heck of a bargain for a brand new phone with a year guarantee, and maybe because a lot of people were buying it, they just raised the price. I don't know. But to your question, generally, if you know where to get things, you can buy it here is cheap, and not always, but for the most part, I find things here at the same price as I can see them on Amazon. I can buy on Amazon, but I can also buy here locally and get it today or tomorrow instead of wait a week to 10 days, worry about it getting tied up in customs and all the issues with that. I don't have to ship to some place in Florida and then ship it on to me and pay them a monthly fee and all of that. So I can eliminate all that. And yeah, I can get things here. It didn't used to be as good as it is now. Is inflation affecting the cost of meat like in the USA? Well, I was just looking at price of a ribeye. And it was $12 for, well, it was in kilos. It was $12 for just over a pound. So I don't know what the price, and that's a good quality Angus ribeye. I don't know what it costs in the United States for that. But meat is still relatively inexpensive, but it has gone up a little bit. Hamburger, just your run-of-the-mill 80-20 hamburger here was about $6,500 a pound where I get it, and it's up to $8,000. But then again, part of that is you have to look at, it's costing me the same amount of money because of the peso exchange rate. So I go to the store, when it was $6,500 in dollars, I would spend X dollars, and now it's up to $8,000, and because of the exchange rate, I'm still spending the same amount of money in dollars. So there's also that to consider. So if it goes the other direction, that's when I'll probably start to see more about inflation. Where is Wes? Wait, I think Wesley from Where's Wes opened a restaurant. I don't know what Where's West is. I assume that's the name of the YouTuber you're talking about. Victor, Wes just moved his restaurant. We've not been to the new one yet. Old one was good, lots of flavor. And I assume they're both Chinese, the old one and the new one. Some phone models in the US cannot be registered here. It's a type of, what is it, CDMA? It's a type, not the phone model itself, it's the electronics of it. Google Éxito Colombia and compare prices to electronics and compare to the current exchange rate. Yeah, you can do that. Éxito is not the best place to buy these things. I'll look pretty commonly, but usually if it's anything that's going to be like $50 or more, I'll buy it out of Bogota and have it sent here next day or 2 days. And I'll use Mercado Libre because they compete against each other. So there might be 50 vendors selling what it is I'm looking for. And you'll find somebody who's selling it for a bare bones price. And they have ratings. It's pretty reliable. It's a safe operation. I had a problem the other day with something that wasn't going to come as they had originally advertised, so I canceled it and I got my money back like within a minute. Where to buy meat and frozen packages other than regular butchers. Also, finally, 360 building. Provide magnetic card to go to Colima. Very convenient. About frickin' time. Of course, they waited for me to leave, but there's I put on the Facebook page. If you don't belong to the Facebook page, you might want to take a look at it. There's a place called El Campo, and it's on Centenario on the north end. And they sell a lot of fruits and vegetables really, really cheap, and they're good quality. But they also sell a lot of cuts of meat. And one of the things I like about they vacuum pack meats, and I like that they call the cuts what I'm familiar with. So they call a ribeye a ribeye. They'll call a New York strip a New York strip, and like that. And it's always confusing. I mean, there's like a 50 million versions of Lomo, and it's like, which one is that? And it's like, and so I kind of like that. But they have really good prices. A ribeye, I was looking at a vacuum pack ribeye that was just under a pound. I think it was like 700 grams, something like that. And it was $24,000 for Angus ribeye. So you do the math on that. You know what it is in the U.S. and the peso right now. Well, last night I looked, it was 4,007 to the dollar. It's been kind of going just under 4,000, just over, and the highest it got ever was 4,050. Okay. Mercado Libre is a website. Yeah, it is, and it's all over South America. So when you go to the website, the first thing it'll ask you is what country. So you can get it in Ecuador and get it in Cuba, but they don't operate the same. In Ecuador, it didn't operate. It was kind of messed up. You had a lot of scammers on there. They would put things up for sale, and then when you go to try to buy them, it was never for sale. Here, it reminds me of the early days of Amazon, before Amazon just became all corporate. You can find all kinds of used things, and it's just a pretty good place. And they have a good rating system. If there's somebody who has no ratings, don't ever buy it. It doesn't mean it's a scam. Just don't. It's not worth the hassle, because I went through this. I tried to buy something and ended up the transaction, I had to cancel it, and then again and again, and finally I'm just not ever going to do that again. What sometimes those will do, and the reason they don't have any ratings is because they keep opening new accounts, is they'll put something up at a great price, and then when you go to check on it, say, oh, we're fresh out of that, but we could sell you this. Bait and switch. Max peso ever reached was 40.18. Nope, it was a few weeks ago. I got up to 40.50. Oh, 41.18. All right, that could be. I didn't see it. The highest I've ever seen it was a 40.50. So maybe one snuck in there and I wasn't watching. I don't look at it every single day. But when I do, I usually look at the chart. But you know, I could very well have missed it. You mentioned once that the best exchange rate is Davivienda from an ATM, but you said something about pushing no for some option, you get a better rate. No, it's not that you get a better rate. It's you go through and you do your withdrawal, and it'll come up with a screen and it says, here's the exchange rate. And they'll show you the exchange rate. Do you accept this? And you say no, because if you accept that, you're getting less of a rate. In other words, they're asking permission if they can make money on the exchange. And you just say no. And then it goes to the following screen where it just pays you out and you get the real rate. So it's not a matter of a best rate, it's you're getting the actual rate of within an hour or two of what the rate is, because it can change hourly. So, if you look on your phone and it says, it's X dollars, but 2 hours ago was X dollars minus 25, you might be getting the minus 25 because it was 2 hours ago, because it doesn't instantly, but it's always same day. I don't know if that makes any sense. How can those ATMs scam us like that? It's not a scam. I mean, think about it. They're asking your permission, and if you say okay, which a lot of people do because they think, well, if I say no, it'll cancel the transaction, I won't get my money. But it doesn't say that. So they're not really scamming you. They're saying, do you mind if we hit you up for 200 pesos per dollar? And if you say, yeah, go ahead, didn't scam you. But if you say no, then they give you the actual rate. So no scam. Now, the real scammer is Bank Colombia, because they get you with a fee, and there's a non-refundable fee. They hit you up with the transaction. There's like 2 charges plus the transaction. They get you every which way. And that's when I said that out of desperation, I had no choice. The only thing around was Bank Colombia. I had to get my hands on about $100. It cost me $80 to pull out 100. No, I'm sorry. It cost me $20 to pull out 100. I got $80. So then I had to go back in again. Thieves. That was the best ATM info I've ever gotten. Colpatria is also, Colpatria doesn't even have the screen. They just give it to you. They just give you the rate. Now, I'm dealing with Capital One. So and I know that, no, I don't know. I'm thinking it's Chase, but I'm not positive. I know there's some others that it's the same way, but all banks aren't the same and they don't transact the same. So if you have some weird bank, that may not apply to you. Everyone thinks you're canceling a transaction. Yeah, it's kind of clever, I guess, but it's Colpatria seems good. They don't charge you for the transaction in Colombia. Yeah, although maybe I'll tell the story someday. Not today. It's too long of a story. I lost $200 dealing with them, and I haven't used Colpatria since. But it's not really a Colpatria thing. It's kind of a fluke and a comedy of errors. And one of these days I'll get it fixed. Survey Banca is terrible as well. Yeah, they're like their ATMs are like, you go in a convenience store and you have the store-owned ATM, and it's always got crazy high fees and things like that. Well, the Survey Banca is kind of like that. It's yeah, they're not kind to you. I don't use them at all. I'm on Schwab. Yeah, I'm no fan of Schwab, but I understand for most people it works fine. I had to fight with them for months to get $50 back out of them, so I'll never feel good about them. If you do not live in all the inclusive rental, how do you pay utilities online, in person? You can pay online. One of the blessings of COVID was pre-COVID. I did a video 3 years ago about a day I'm running errands. I'm going to go pay my water bill and my internet bill, and I'm chasing around. Took up half a day. Did a video on that. Well, since COVID, all the online things that existed before that didn't work, they now function, and things that didn't have online now have online. So I just pay on my phone. Bill comes in, I pull my phone out and pay, and it's over. Do you know of anyone that tested positive and held back from their flight? The only research I've seen was an airline, less than 1% couldn't fly back. Tested positive, held back from her flight. I don't know of anyone that would be able to get on a flight that tested positive. I'm a little confused on the question. If you've tested positive, you can't fly. I love the video that you made, La Castellan neighborhood. Thank you. Yeah, I like that one too. It was a nice day and it was a nice walk around, and it's an interesting place because you have all these nice high rises, but then you have all these beautiful single story or two-story houses. It's one of my favorite places. There's 4 neighborhoods that I highly recommend, and that's one of them. You mentioned Western Union being the worst way to transfer, but the Western Union app asks how much to transfer and then says the recipient will receive the Colombian equivalent in pesos. Well, go right ahead. But you will find that you're getting screwed. Western Union is ruthless. I have a Western Union account, used them for years. I don't use them anymore because I don't like getting screwed. And if you go into a Western Union place, oh my God! Like if you come here with dollars and you want to get it turned into pesos, and you go into a Western Union office, I mean, first they set you up for an anal exam. They take all your documentation. You have to answer these questions. It's kind of a nightmare, and then you get raped on the exchange rate. It's not good. World Remit, as far as I know, to this day, is the best way to do it. It's very inexpensive. It's the actual exchange rate. I mean, they all have fees, but it's between $1.99 and $3.99 for most things. So my friend had his daughter held back from going to the USA for a positive COVID test. Well, I'm sure. I know you're responding to the other guy, but yeah, of course. Western Union, in my opinion, is a ripoff because you're charged way more than other services. So if that's the case, why use them? If you're using a financial service, it should be competitive, and they're not. They're very high. They're taking advantage of their popularity or familiarity, I should say. How far north would you consider too far to live in walking distance of the malls? And well, you get up past Portal Condillo by a few blocks, and you've ended the good places to live. Now, there's a place at the north end called Oro Negro, but it's kind of I guess hellhole would be too strong of a statement. I stayed there for 10 days, and I hated the building, but it's typical of the buildings up there that, you can hear your neighbors 4 apartments down, and they're really small. There's no good services. You got to take the bus and taxis all the time for most everything. It's just not great. So I would keep it from Portal Condillo south. When you pay your bills online, can you pay with an American credit card, debit card? Do you have difficulties with American account numbers and routing? It depends, but for the most part, I don't use it. I use my Rappi account, either Rappi directly or the Rappi credit card that they gave me, because I can recharge my account with my debit card from the U.S. So that's how I've settled it down. Western Union is a joke. Yeah, bad joke. Taco, how you doing, Taco? Okay, we got one here. It's not letting me. Where is it? It's not letting me see all of it. I agree, lots of websites didn't work a few years ago, but now you can get things done online. Once they were faced with bankruptcy, They figured out a way to make their websites work. Yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell. But now the government websites still suck. The Visa one, anything to do with like your car registration. Well, that's one of the better ones. But there's a lot of things online that are government related that kind of suck. The healthcare is a nightmare. World remit fee is €299. Transfer from account to account. Now, $299. What's that? $399 in US, maybe. So yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, so how do you know what is the best rate? I'm more confused about the whole thing. You can just go to Google and Google exchange rate. There's the one I use it's called XE. Let me take a look here. See up in the corner there, it says XE. Well, and no, I didn't refresh that, so that may be from last night. But I leave that one of my page open, so I don't have to hunt for it. I just go and I bop it down to refresh it. I can't pay my bills online. They all require a Colombian bank for the transaction. No, they don't require a Colombian bank, but they usually don't allow out-of-country credit or debit cards. So there's a couple ways you can do it. There's little places that you can go to the ATM, pull out your cash. You can go to these little places and pay pretty much all your bills there, so you don't have to go independently. I've got one right outside my complex here. There's that. Or you can open a Nexigo or a Rappi account. That you can transfer money into those accounts, and then you can pay the bills off of those accounts. And they have debit cards. Now, I'm actually using my Rappi credit card when I need it, but same thing. Do they charge for the exam? I don't know what exam you're talking about. How do you feel about using American credit card with no foreign transaction fees to use in Armenia? Do they also make some type of commission on the exchange? I don't have any American credit card. All I have is my Capital One debit card. And how do I feel about it? That's what I do. I don't use it for anything except the ATM to pull out cash. If I want to use a credit card or a debit card in Colombia for something, like to pay a bill, or maybe Mercado Libre. Well, actually, Mercado Libre, I can use my U.S. Debit card, but I usually don't. I usually put everything through my Rappi account. And, I'm telling people that one of the essential things that you should have is a Rappi account. And that's part of the reason why it just does so many things for you, including if you don't feel very well, you can have, and like when COVID hit, the only thing I went out for, paranoid, thinking I was going to die, like, many of us, we didn't know better, I would go out to the ATM. But with a Rappi account, you can actually make an ATM withdrawal through Rappi, and they'll bring the cash to your door. Can you elaborate on where you said local, possibly a police officer told you where most murders occurred? I don't think that's how I phrased it. There's 4 barrios in the South where most crime occurs, be it murder or whatever. So I can't, off the top of my head, I don't remember the names. I'd have to call up and look on a map and see what the names are. I know where they are. Yeah, maybe I could do a video on that. Although I hesitate doing videos on something like that because people will watch that video and think, you know, like Armenia's crime-ridden and get the wrong idea. But don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to sell Armenia, and if there's something negative, I just also don't want to put a video out that gives people the wrong idea. But they're barrios that you would instantly know that you don't want to go into. They're pretty obvious. How long to restrict entry? Entry is not restricted, but if you mean the vaccine thing, then I guess that could be called a restriction. How long does the emergency breach of the rule of law last? When is the emergency over? You know, that's a good question. I mean, with the news that came out last week from the people that we have long since learned to not rely on, the CDC and Fauci, but they're coming out and just admitting that the masks everyone's wearing are not effective. They don't do anything. The vaccines are no longer effective. And as a matter of fact, they can diminish your natural immunity, and you can actually be more prone to catch the virus. No, let's say, but they're milder symptoms. Well, they're milder symptoms because of the Omicron. If you're not vaccinated, you're also getting very mild symptoms. And a good example of it, I mean, these stats are coming out. I mean, I can even say it now because they stopped banning people for speaking the truth on this, although you have to be somewhat careful. But if you look at Australia, as of a couple days ago, 68% of the people that tested positive for COVID were fully vaccinated. That means at least 2 vaccinations, 68% of the population. So, you know, how long is this? I mean, yeah, they can require the vaccination, but if it's not really having any effect, what's the point? And I believe that on the Alpha, it worked. I think it had effect. On the Delta, and not so much. And with the Omicron, apparently it has no effect, but they're saying the possible side effect of your natural immunity is actually getting weakened. So, yeah, you know, I wish they would just become Florida. Like, it's over in Florida. It doesn't, you go to Florida, you would never know that it happened. There's no masks, there's no mandates. It's just things are back to normal. How long? Who knows? I don't know. Looking at cheap houses and need to get some input. Well, you wouldn't want to buy a house in those areas anyway. So I don't think you'll be drawn to any house in where that exists. Does Capital One charge you for transactions in Colombia from our ATM? No. The ATMs I use do not charge any fee, so I don't even have to worry about getting any refund on charges. I use only Davivienda and Colpatria, and they have no fees with Capital One. Great live today. Good to see everyone. Meet up at cake party at Lauren's in February. Yeah. I'm not much of a drinker, but sure, why not? What we got here? Hugo. Sorry, I missed that one. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. We're planning on entering Colombia this year, but now we are depressed as a discrimination and fascism. Well, I don't know if that's a good way to say it. How dare they restrict entry for the unvaccinated? Disgusting. Well, it's not like they're the only ones. XE, awesome, thanks. Good show and tons of info. How do you manage your Spanish speaking skill? Very poorly. My Spanish is horrible. I have enough Spanish to get by, carry on rudimentary conversations. I mean, I can chat with a taxi driver, but anything of in depth and meaning, I kind of suck at it. I've just resigned myself to that's how it is, and I don't stress or worry about it anymore. I have a happy life. I get by fine. I have lots of friends, so if there's anything really important that I can just, hey, can you help me out with such and such? And, you know, so there's that. When transferring money into your Rappi account, is there a fee when converting or depositing into the account? I think there is a small fee now. It's kind of inconsequential, like pennies. It didn't have it before, but I think in this last year, they started having a fee, but it's so little, I don't really worry about it. And the transactions, like, I don't know, it's just so favorable. But yeah, I think there is a fee, just to avoid those areas. Yeah, I could show you on a map, but I don't know. I'm late. Did you get the vax? No, I haven't. I'm kind of dragging my feet because I have natural immunity and I don't really want to mess it up. On the other hand, when some new people are coming, I may have to, for their sake, to be able to take them to some place they want to go, like the coffee park. I'm not afraid of the vaccine, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm not against it. Theoretically, it's just I don't see any point if it's not working. What section on Rappi to go to for bill payments? You click on the Rappi account button. You click on that. You'll have to enter in your passcode or fingerprint or however you do it. And then when it comes up, it'll show you how much is in that account. And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see a group of, I don't know, 8-10 things that you can do, like recharge your cell phone or various things. And one of them would be pay bills. My Rappi's in English. Where you get that? I don't know. Who gets what? I don't know. I don't know what that means. I live in Miami. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, it should be an example to the world. You know, they said the sky was going to fall, and it didn't. Of course, because the body is filled with viral load to combat the virus. That's how vaccines work. Inject millions. I'm in Southwest Florida. Okay. Whoop. Colombia is inexpensive enough that I can fulfill my lifelong dream of being a slumlord. You mentioned your 4 favorite neighborhoods. Wondering which ones. Oh, my 4 favorite. Yeah. Yeah, it's like my 4 favorite and then the 4 crime-ridden ones. I recently heard Loralis is becoming too noisy. You have to know the building. It's not becoming too noisy. It's no different than it's been all along. Actually, it might be a little less noisy than it was a few years pre-COVID because there was some nightclubs there with live music. And I think there's only 1 or 2 of those that have come back. But some of the buildings, you get to know the buildings. Some of the buildings, depending on where they are, if they're not the best of construction, if they got single pane windows and they're facing the main boulevard and you're up high enough to catch the noise, yeah, that can kind of suck. So get an apartment on the other side of the building or in a different building. I mean, you have to know where you're getting it. Loralis, I love Loralis, and I almost got a place. I had actually agreed to rent a place, but then it got rented out from under me. Castellana, here, Centenario, where 360 and where I'm living now. And the Parque Fundadores, actually, Parque Fundadores, we'll call that a half, 4.5. And then where I lived before, around the, what's it called? It's called La Lorena Barrio, right in there where Provenza, and there's actually some Stratus 4 places that are quite inexpensive that are pretty nice. So all of that is a decent area to live. They're all extremely safe and, you know, walk to everything you could want. Those are the places I like. What are my thoughts on how he runs Florida? We're a Columbia channel. I have my thoughts, but it doesn't, you know, my thoughts on that really don't mean anything. I'm not from Florida. I don't live in Florida. I have friends in Florida, but, you know, I have no real wisdom to share about Florida. Now, Colombia, I got wisdom to share about Colombia. Where'd the donation button super chat? It's pinned at the top. Also, you'll see the stream element things come up every once in a while, and one of them will be for like that, for example. You'll find that, and it's got a link. You can click that. But if you go to the top of the chat, there's a link pinned up there. Also, you can go down to the information below the video, and then, yeah, now it just came up. And you can also go to Grand Columbia Live, and there's a whole different way to donate. It doesn't pop up on the channel, but that's a great way to do it too. That's my main way. I went to Medellin in Armenia. I found Medellin overrated. It's nice, but I like Armenia more. See, I love Medellin. I like a lot of the modern aspects to it. You know, the train's cool. Some really nice buildings, but for me, the geographical layout kind of sucks. It's like Cuenca. You're in a bowl, you're surrounded by mountains, and what happens is things get trapped. And it's one of the reasons I go to Medellin, my eyes burn. I don't like the pollution, excuse me, but the pollution, it gets trapped. There'll be it's just, you go up out of Medellin and look down, you can actually see how bad it is on some days. And then the traffic is just insane. I mean, the taxis are like taxis in most of the world. They're just kind of rude. They'll run you over if you're not careful. I've seen motorcycles avoid traffic jams by jumping up on the sidewalk and running through pedestrians to get past a couple cars. It's just, I just don't like that kind of stuff. I don't like big cities, but for a place to visit, I think it's pretty awesome. A lot of the nice places that are almost part of Medellin, but they're suburbs, they've become known and pretty popular. Prices have, gone up too high because of that. Now, I like my corner of the world. It's quiet and reasonable, and people are normal. The people in Medellin, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're not like the rest of Colombia. I use the word jaded. Will YouTube Super Chat donate button be returning after you get remonetized? I'm not going to get remonetized. That was talk about a scam. I mean, if you donated there to the channel, you were giving YouTube almost as much as I was getting. They're taking 40% of whatever it was. It's ridiculous. So, I don't miss that. No, I'll keep it this way, or if some other reasonable system comes along, I'll look at those. But the super chat really was a ripoff. It was kind of painful because I'd have a day where contributions came in. And it was, wow, it was a nice day. It's like $100. This is awesome. I can get that doohickey I needed. And then when it would clear the bank, it's like, where did it all go? I got $60. Where did it go? YouTube. It's like, oh yeah, damn it. It's like Armenia, working in Bogota. How do you like Bogota? It gets pretty cool there at night. It gets freezing at night. Many a night I was in Bogota, and it's like wishing I had winter jacket. And I like cold. You know, I went to Alaska and, you know, wore a t-shirt, but Bogota can get pretty, I don't know, there's something about it. It's a biting cold. You're in a valley. Medellin, yeah, but not in Armenia. Bypassing YouTube donation, you're further ahead, not losing 30%. It's more like, it's closer to 40%. It's interesting stats from Christmas in Canada. 78% of hospitalizations are unvaccinated. Or deaths, 75% unvaccinated. Okay. YouTube is as bad as Western Union. I wish YouTube has the advantage of having decades of being able to work on this platform, and they have a lot of features that will take decades for others to come up with. And nobody out there is actually doing what YouTube did in the beginning. Now, they've gotten away from it, but the software still exists. But things like Rumble, I mean, you have to pay them to live stream, first of all. And there's a lot of things that don't function very well in Rumble. Odyssey works really good. If I had to go to any, it'd probably be that. But part of the issue is having interactive chat. Now, YouTube, with any software, and I'm using Stream Elements, that's where I can pull up the chat. I can put it on the screen here, right here, because it's YouTube. And if it were Twitch, I could do it. But Odyssey, there's no software linked to it. So this would go away. Some of the things that I do here that I need to interact with you guys, it'll be gone. Plus, you'll have to go to Odyssey in order to use that chat. And it's just a lot of people, they want to stay with what's familiar. Well, YouTube, I know, I get the notice, and, so there's that. So right now, there's just no good alternative. Have you heard or have the Colombian media given any signs of relaxing the vax restrictions? No. All I heard was the latest that you know about. Can I open a Capital One account online if I'm in Colombia? I don't think so. I think you have to be in the U.S. to open it. But that may not be the case. If you have a SIM card, and I'm still working on that, but I'm working on it part-time. I've got a folder, I'm gathering information, I look every so often, I need to really give it a full court press in order to come up with something good. But what you need is a SIM card from the US that you can put in your phone, or have a dual SIM phone that is attached to a US number, so that Capital One can communicate with you. If you have that, and you have a US address, like a relative or something like that, then you probably can, because I opened mine originally online, but I was in the US at the time. But if you're here and you don't have that US SIM card, it absolutely won't. I can't do squat without that SIM card. Now, I was able to add my brother, half brother, to the account. It was kind of a fluke, but it happened. And so now he's on the account his phone number is on the account. So he can get a message, or he can respond to the security thing where they send to there a number, and then I have to enter the number in. So they'll send him a number, he'll message me what that number is, and then I can enter it into my software, and then everything works. It's kind of convoluted, but it's just how it goes. They're trying to make it impossible to deal outside of the country, and even if you do, they're trying to restrict the amount of dealing. It's just government control. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for your response. That's what I'm here for. Capital One here won't let you open an account at the branch. It's all done online. Capital One here won't let you open an account at the branch. Yeah, like I said, I originally opened mine online. But if you're in Colombia, if you don't have that U.S. phone number to communicate with them, and it can't be a Google number or VoIP number or the one I used for years. What was it called? Magic Jack. It can't be any of those. They don't work anymore. And so it has to actually be a phone SIM card that is registered. You have to make sure you get it registered too. What do you think in pesos is a good monthly income to live a Stratus 6 life more than 15 million pesos a month? No, that would be kind of ridiculous. 5. Most of the nice places are actually Stratus 5 in Armenia. And again, you're talking Armenia. Now, if you're talking Medellin, yeah, that's probably about right. But here, to live a Stratus 5 or 6 apartment and bills and, decent life, a little extra money here and there, about 5 million. Anything more than that, about $1,400 a month. Anything more is just better life, a little more travel, a little more, going out, things like that. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I do it for you guys. That's the whole point here. Good morning from Northern California. Just woke up. Can you repeat everything? Absolutely. I will repeat everything. When I'm finished with this, just go click on the button and you'll hear me just repeating it all. Got COVID. Everybody seems to get COVID. Now, I got sick on the Alpha one, April 2 years ago. And I was really sick for 3 days, crazy sick one day of those 3. And then the week leading up to that and the week after it, I was just I just beat down. I had no energy, just blah. And then everything went back to normal. I had all the famous symptoms, the taste, the headache, all of that. And then April of last year, 2020, I got sick again with the Delta one. And I was not as sick as the first one, but that's because I already had COVID. But I was still pretty sick, and I attribute that to being a stronger version. Delta was the worst of them all. And now you got the Omicron thing, and it turns out I've actually been around some people, and I don't mean the people here, but there was a couple people that came to visit me, and then like within a day or two, came down with Omicron. Here, people go crazy. It's easy to get tested. They'll even come to your house and test you. And they like to be involved, so they'll come and tell you, you should, stay in your house. They don't police you. They don't lock the door or anything, but they give you the advice of what you should do. So if you're worried about it, they'll come and hold your hand for it. Well, I never got it, and I don't know why I didn't. The only thing I can think of is, maybe having it before, managed to fight it off. So, and I might still get it. You don't know. But the thing is, I'm just not worried about it anymore because I had the worst of them, and it was not bad. The worst part of it for me was having such a lack of energy. I didn't want to move. I mean, and that was like a couple weeks. I just don't like that. The achy feeling, that wasn't for the 2 weeks, but for that period of time, it was like, I really hate to say it's like the flu, but there's a lot of similarities to it. It's just like a really, really strong flu. Thanks for all the hard work. I appreciate, these are nice comments today. Thank you. Thank you for it. We have any other questions? Whoa, I didn't realize we went over. We're 17 minutes over. So I'll make the last call for any questions you have. Some good questions about Colombia today. Appreciate that. This sickness thing, I'm bored to death with it. If I never spoke about it for the rest of my life, I'd be happy. All right, this is the last call. So Victor, Hugo, Juka, thank you guys for your contributions today. I appreciate it. How is the crime rate these days? Crime rate in Medellin has been going up. Here in Armenia, it's pretty much about the same. It's mostly in those 4 barrios in the south. There's very little crime for the rest of us, if no crime. If you talk to people that are living here, if they live in the north, they don't worry about it. They walk around with using their cell phones, and it's no big deal. If you're in the south, you're just a lot more protective. I don't understand. Something on the Bills, Pats. They trounced them. It was a great game to watch. I'd never seen anything like it, as a matter of fact. I'd never seen a football game that came as close to perfection as that football game. I mean, 7 trips to the end zone with 7 touchdowns. I'd never heard of that. I haven't watched any of the talk shows, but I wouldn't be surprised if that wasn't some kind of record. Last call for alcohol reminds me of college days. Have a great day. Over, under. I don't know what over. I'm not a gambler. I don't know what the hell that means. 47-17. And that was more of a mercy score at the end for the Pats. All right. That's it. We're going to end it here. Feel free to send me an email if you got questions. I throw it up on the screen. Thank you for the contributions. I really appreciate the nice comments. So those things make me want to keep going. So let me get back here and say goodbye. Good night, Gracie.